And it's like the whirlwind. All right, good Monday morning, everyone. It is Amy here with Author Talk with Sandy Russell, and our lovely guest is W.L Hawkin or Wendy. So, you guys, how was everybody's weekend? It is finally a beautiful day. We are not freezing or getting rain here in Texas. I don't know about you, Russell.
It's still freezing and rainy.
Houston, Texas.
I know. I got to tell you, I love Atlanta now. I love the people, but winter's over in Houston. Atlanta has another month. It's cold. Where are you, Wendy?
I'm in the Vancouver area, and you know what? I always thought that it was like really warm down there.
Not always. I don't know what happened. Last year we had Ice-Ageddon, and we are just people. We can deal with 100, 110 degree weather. We like that. Okay. But when it comes to, just 30 degrees or ice or snow, we can't drive in that. We don't function. That's not our thing. So we are unhappy people down here.
We get depressed and unhappy when we have long days, one after another, of cold weather. Freezing.
I understand that. That's actually why I moved from Ontario out to the West Coast, because I can't do snow and ice either.
Oh, see, okay, so you fit in. Yeah. Yes, you absolutely fit in. So what did everybody do this weekend?
Amy, so this weekend I noticed you got a new dog.
I did. I did.
Post your beautiful new dog, because
okay.
You said she got a new job.
She wanted to know. Well, she always has a new job, but she posted on Facebook to all her viewers, what should she name this dog?
Oh, and Russell, I'm excited to hear.
I was dying to say, why don't you name it like you name everything else? Sunshine or Happy Sunrise. That's the kind of names Amy names stuff. She's like a hippie from the 60s.
Okay. Amy, what kind of dog is it?
Oh,
it's just a dog.
No, it is okay, so if you haven't figured this out about me, I struggle with my R's. It's just how God made me, and I've accepted this, okay? But it is a Lab Reimer, whatever.
So it's going to be a great dog. That's a great dog.
Yes.
With a stupid name for it.
It has the face of a Labradoodle, because I've seen some of those and they have that long face. So I love that.
Yeah. Well, so his face in the photo looks long just because of the angle I took it. But he has the green eyes and like the web feet of like a Weimaraner kind of dog. And then he has the chocolate color, which I didn't know until I started realizing that it's a rare color. And the fact that he's a long hair. And so I don't know. I saw pictures and I was like, ooh, this is going to be a pretty dog. But I don't know. I went looking. So if you want the scoop on this whole situation, okay, I was kind of in hot water. Josh went out of town and I took my oldest daughter, to the Humane Society. And 2 days later, I came home with a dog. Like that.
Oh, boy.
The whole thing, So that's what really kind of happened.
That's a great idea. I need to get David out of town so I can go get another dog.
You should go get a dog. You only have 17 dogs. Wendy, she has this little Chihuahua that I wrote into children's stories because it's the funniest little Chihuahua you ever saw. Whenever it barks,
he's my person.
James, whenever it barks, it goes around in circles. Every time it barks, it goes around. It's the silliest little dog you've ever seen. I would steal it if I could, and I used to make fun of her about it.
But he's just my dog, and whenever I sit down, no matter where he is, he comes and jumps in my lap, and I just like, oh my gosh.
He's awesome. Russell, do you have any suggestions? Because I have a whole theme going on. Okay?
Sunrise.
No,
that's your type of name. Sunrise.
Russell. Those are he's just making fun of my kids' names, Wendy, because I have Meadow and Sky are my two daughters.
So shouldn't the dog be Sunrise?
No, because my current dog, besides my
Sunflower?
Puppy, his name is Thor. Oh, Russell. His name is Thor. My black cat is Mowgli. Those are the two that I named. My husband is not very good with names and has named his cat Alice, which is just, it doesn't fit.
That's a good name.
It doesn't fit with my vibe. Okay. I've got a vibe going. So
I'm sure the people in our podcast I'm real excited. I always want to talk about our podcast.
Yeah. Go for it.
People that are listening on our podcast are like, what are they talking about? And the thing is, Amy she has a different type of way she names everything. And that's what we're talking about. Wendy, we
Amy
have
is
more
our
people that listen to us on our
millennial.
podcast now than actually even watch our show on Mondays. They listen all week. We're like in the top 10. We're very ecstatic and grateful and humbled by it. Amy, how do people find us on podcast?
Right. So you can go to the search bar up at the top, type in Author Talk. You're going to see a red and gold logo of a book opening, and it's going to say Author Talk, Hearing Author Stories. And that is going to be our channel that has everything. If you want to visually watch us, because I am very animated and talk a lot with my hands and don't always control my facial expressions sometimes, then you can come to our Facebook group, our LinkedIn channel, or our YouTube channel to see our animated selves. It's always fun to do that. But Rock Hill, James Hill, I did tell my husband about Hank, and that is his number one name at the moment. So I'm trying to get him off of that. I don't like
Hank is a good name for that dog. He looks
I don't
like
like
Hank.
people names for animals. It's just kind of, who are you talking to?
So see,
Hank?
back
But,
to Sunrise.
Okay, so I actually jumped into your Facebook page.
Mhm. I know.
And, yeah, I did, and I had a name too. I said Chai.
I know. See, I
really like
that
Chai.
one. That's
Okay.
a good one.
That's actually not a bad name.
Kind of goes with the coloring, and I'm a lab person too, so I know there are chocolate brown labs, and some people were talking about Coco and all those names, but I thought Chai was it's a nice, smooth name.
I love it.
Wendy, that may go even better than you think, because that may be the kind of name that Amy may be able to get Josh to agree to. Don't you think, Amy?
Probably.
That's a pretty good name.
It is a really good dog. So besides the fact that it's teeth ink, that's a puppy, it has yet to bark. It already pees and everything outside. It hasn't peed in my house. It just lays there.
It's going to be brilliant.
The craziest thing happened, you guys, and of all people, my husband found the dog. Okay, so I guess I didn't lock the cage door last night. I swear I did, but I guess I didn't. And my husband woke up and he was on my couch asleep. He didn't pee in my house. He just slept on my heated blanket all night. I don't know what better 3-month-old puppy that's only been in my house for 3 months than this dog is. Okay, it's literally perfect. My kids have fallen all over it, and he has licked them and he's played with them. He kind of thinks that they're a chew toy and has nibbled on them just because he's teething. So it really is a fantastic dog.
Yeah, that dog's going to be really smart. Amy, tell us about Max's presentations on Monday night. I've gone to the last two. As you know, I've missed most of your presentations over the last year.
Max, as a matter of fact, you've missed most of our Monday night training.
Well, there's football on.
I mean, I agree with you. I totally understand. Being a football fan, got priorities, man. I got it. I get it.
Max is teaching a writing course. He's incredibly qualified. I wouldn't miss a second of it, either that or your Wednesday thing. And I know Fern feels the same way. She's kind of your school teacher on Wednesday to walk people through stuff.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So tonight on our 6-step series that we have graciously hosted for Max Regan to come in and just help you in any part of the writing process, any journey that you're on, whether you have 30 series or whatever, it's always good to kind of keep crafting your craft and make it better each time. So tonight we are talking about narration. See, ours are just hard for me. Narration versus scene work tonight. And it's going to be exciting. I have learned a whole lot. As all of you guys know, listening and watching, I am the only one on here that has not written a book. I live through authors. I don't think I will ever dabble in it unless I produce an audiobook myself. But tonight is going to be narration and scene work, which I think is really important, especially if you're just have a spark of an idea and you really want to evolve it or anything like that. Or if you have a specific scene that you're working on and you're struggling to do, like I know Fern has her battle scene that she's been struggling to do. So I know she's really looking forward to tonight. So that is tonight at 7 p.m. Central. If you're interested in coming, let me know. I will send you the link. You are more than welcome to join us. but that will be week 3. Yes, week 3 of our step six series. Yes. It's a Monday, you guys, and words are hard today. I don't know about anybody else, but words are hard for me today. It's a process. It's a process. But with all that being said, I'm going to kick it on over, and we're going to get Wendy talking about her as an author and all the books that she's written and her latest book. So, Sandy, take it away.
Wendy, it's so nice to meet you.
Thank you, Sandy.
I'm glad. I always love it. So Fern, I'm the fill-in, so I'm the substitute. Fern had another engagement she had to be attending this morning, but I love it because I think on the days that Fern has something else that I get to fill in, we've had the most exciting authors, and I am so excited, Wendy, to be able to talk to you. Especially after I looked over your books and I've looked over your website and all of your stuff. But your new book, we're going to talk about your newest book right now, and then we'll go back and talk about your other books. You have a whole series of Hollystone mysteries, but yours are not just the typical mystery. They add some mystique to them, a little bit of paranormal, a little bit of witchcraft, or Wicca in the Hollystone series. But in the new one, Lure, I'm getting where I can read the Jesse and Hawk. Tell us a little bit about that book that just came out February 8th.
Right. Okay. Well, Jesse and Hawk it came from an interesting place. I don't know if you read any of the pre-story on Jesse and Hawk, but
I did. Yes.
Yeah. I actually wrote the bones of the story 30 years ago. So I was in a place where I was divorcing my ex-husband. I was starting my degree in Indigenous Studies, and I wrote it over a few years while I was new in my program in Indigenous Studies at Trent University. And so there is definitely an aura of I think it's my desire for freedom and adventure is in there. Definitely, I fell in love with Hawk, obviously, and just like she does. But there's also an awful lot of Indigenous spirituality in there because of who Hawk is, and that was from what I was doing at the time. And it's just a kind of an interesting story in that way. So it's set on a Chippewa reservation in Minnesota, and I was studying with Anishinaabe people, so I was fairly familiar with that culture. Not super not one of the people that are part of the Medeowan Lodge, but for sure I was learning from them. And so that was a big piece of it. So it's about two people that are trying to get over some loss and tragedy in their life. And so they both end up on the Chippewa reservation, and Jesse's a wildlife photographer and a vegan, and she's living in a cabin with no technology and no power and everything. And Hawk took it a step further, that he's way out in the bush, and he's living in a cave, and he's been there for 3 years. And so they're both trying to get through some.
And he's a doctor, right?
He is a doctor. He's kind of he's a guilty doctor. He feels very guilty for what happened to his partner. So he lost his partner during childbirth, and then her parents swooped in and took his child. So he is devastated. He's feeling like he shouldn't have the relationship because he just ruins things. Like he's got a lot of that stuff going on.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait to read this.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. So it takes place in the Lure River. The title of the book is Lure, and that's the series, right? Lure.
Yes.
So you're going to have more than one book about.
I think so.
Okay. Well, series means more than one. So.
I know. So I'm an intuitive writer, so I don't plan it out. So I don't sit down like J.K. Rowling and say there's going to be 7 books and this is what they are. But I also once I go through a process of creating a town. So I created Lure River. I had a lot of fun doing that. I had some of my newsletter folks help me out with that, and they gave me names of businesses and character names and different things, and even little character write-ups. So that was really cool to to invite people into that.
Well, I don't know who came up with this tagline or a quote that you have: romantic suspense with small town grit.
That would be
Doesn't
me.
that mean, doesn't that sound like something you just can't wait to read? Oh my gosh, I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gritty for sure. It is. I mean, there are a couple of other characters in there that, you know, I'll call them like the creepy guys that hang around ogling girls, and you know, they start out as kind of being just maybe a little bit antagonistic and creepy, but they actually, there's a lot of character development with them, and they turned into some really favorite characters of mine. So I wrote this book 30 years ago, and then I wrapped it in brown paper because I was doing a whole bunch of other things like raising kids and going to university and moving across the country and starting a new career. I became a teacher. Like a whole lot of life happened, and then I wrote the whole other series. And then a couple of years ago, I was doing a Marie Kondo thing where I was moving, and I pulled out this novel wrapped in brown paper and said, "Oh my gosh, maybe I should read that." And I did, and I thought, oh, it's a romance. That's interesting. And so I sat down.
Was this the book you wrote?
This is Lure. This is Lure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't called Lure then. And I pulled it out and started. I read it, and then I started working on it. And
Wendy,
mm-hmm.
what did you have to? How did you have to update it? What were some of the things you had to update?
Okay, so I kept the bones of the story. I kept the characters for the most part. So the names of the characters I kept. A lot of things changed, though. I think my writing has changed for sure. And one thing that happened that didn't happen in the original is just before Jessie goes off on her horse alone in the bush to find Hawk to tell him a friend of his is dying. She's left the doors open to her shed, and she has this horse in the shed. So it had been a really bad storm, and she brought the horse in the shed to overnight with her by the wood stove. And when she goes out in the morning, something's been digging around in there, and she discovers like this hand, the bones of this, skeletal hand coming up in the shed. So she's, of course, immediately, she's a journalist. She immediately gets out, starts taking pictures, and then goes and gets the tribal police. And it turns out that, and I'm not really giving this away because it's on the back cover, this is a missing Indigenous girl who's 15 and has been missing for 20 years. And so while the police are working through this mystery of figuring out who this is and everything, Jessie has gone off to find Hawk to tell him about his friend who's dying, and she gets into all her own stuff. So it's romantic suspense in that there is the core of a romance, but then there's a lot of other stuff going on with missing and murdered Indigenous women, with inhumane animal trapping, throwing stuff into rivers. She gets quite injured during this, and Hawk has a chance to really show his mountain man skills as well as his doctoring skills. So there's a lot of levels to it. Mm-hmm.
It sounds awesome. I'm very excited about getting it today. I'm going to go get it since we're done here, awesome. And I can't wait to read it. So you have it right now in the print version and the ebook, but you have any plans for putting it into an audio book or anything?
You know, that's a good question. I haven't gone into the audiobooks yet. But you know, things are changing so fast in the book industry, and you kind of have to have an audiobook.
Well, because I've never been an audiobook person. I've always been ebook. You are okay, because I love books and I love holding them, but traveling with a lot of books, they become very heavy. So I moved quickly into the ebook world.
You know, I think that like 60% of current book sales are audiobooks, though, Wendy.
I know. I think that's very true, Wendy.
You know, I have a book coming out in October. I can guarantee you it's going to be an audio. In fact, I'm going to audio all of my books for the October release. But I got to tell you, it's very burdensome to do it. See, who was that, Amy, that just
That's
said?
that's
The Facebook.
Leroy.
Oh, that's Leroy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Facebook user. I have it on. I have my screen split, so I have it over here. But I will say, just as someone that used to live in Houston and as a commuter, right? My husband listened to ebooks all the time to and from UH because he lived like 30 minutes from there. So he would listen to audiobooks all the time. But I know what is becoming more and more popular, Wendy, I don't know if you want to take a stab at it, is doing audiobooks yourself. And it's become less expensive and you can get just as good quality as long as you kind of know how to set up the room and things like that. And so, because I know that was a hindrance, right, for a lot of authors, is audiobooks are expensive. If you get someone professional to do it, and if they want like part of your royalties, or if they want, so many, I'll read so many words or pages, and then, that's more money. You've already invested a lot of money to get your book published, right? So it's like, well,
absolutely.
how much money do I need to do, right? And then you have to invest in marketing, right? So then it's just like, I'm not made of money. This is the time when people say money grows on trees. We really wish it was true, because I wish I could just go in the backyard of all my trees and just pick my money and be like, yes, I got everything I could ever need. But it just doesn't happen.
It doesn't work that way. One of the things, though, I have found that, and like I said, I never have been an audiobook or never listening, and it just wasn't my thing. But I've started walking again, and I'm not, I'm old. I'm 78, so I can't run or do a lot of, but I can walk. And so I've been walking more and more, and I've found that that's a perfect thing to do, is to listen to a book. And I really get into it. So I'm like, okay, I can't stop yet. I want to get to a place where I can. So I am really getting into audiobooks now for the first time. And so I do, especially a book that's got this suspense and adventure and romance, and you just like, oh my God, you just really get into the books. You definitely want people to be able to read them while they're, as Amy said, while they're in the car, going back and forth to work when they have a long distance to drive, or when they're walking or exercising or something. So,
no, for sure. Those are great points. And I used to, I was an English teacher for many years in high school. And one of my things was reading aloud to the kids. So, I mean, I'd be really good. I'd have my novel, and I could walk around the classroom and still, read the whole book in voices. They love that,
I believe that. Wendy, I think that you have a great voice, especially for the type of book you're talking about. I think you have a great accent for a general audience. And the reason I say that is because I don't. And I don't have a good voice for an audiobook, and I don't have a good accent for an audiobook. So I'm very jealous of you, and I really think that you probably could do a great job of your own.
Well, thank you. Now, I don't consider myself having an accent. Do we all
That's
feel
the
that?
point.
I think your voice does sound great. I think you have just the perfect accent, which is like almost not one that's identified with any particular place. So I think
that's perfect.
Canadian accent.
It would be perfect. So tell us a little bit about Wendy, though. I mean, here we've talked about your book, your newest book, and I do want to talk a minute about your previous. Well, go ahead and let's do that. What about your previous books, the whole series?
Right. Okay. Well, the Hollystone Mysteries they're actually a whole lot of fun, and they're pretty irreverent, and they're pretty sexy and edgy. Okay. And they revolve around this Wicca coven who solve murders. I started writing them in the mid 2000s when I was teaching high school, and I was super stressed out, and I would come home on the weekends and evenings and holidays because I'm an introvert, so I don't really do social. And I would go in my room and I would write these mystery novels, and they really took off. And people, I think, fell in love with Estrada, who is the main character. So it ends up that he ends up at the end. I realized after 4 books, it's really about him going through his personal problems, trying to figure out what he wants in life, because he wants his freedom and he wants his family. and he is I will say he is a bisexual, free-spirited stage magician who works at a club in a downtown goth club in Vancouver, and gets into a lot of trouble because he falls in love a lot. So that's in there.
That's such a great description. I love
I
that.
know it is.
That makes me want to read it right there.
Yeah.
What kind of character? You can always come up with something with that character.
Yeah, and he talks to me all the time, and basically what happens is I see things in dreams, and I see visuals, and I hear conversations. So when I'm walking, I'm listening to characters talking to me, right? So that's kind of what happens there. But in the first book, To Charm a Killer, he ends up going to Ireland, which is one of my favorite places to help
I can
a young girl.
Definitely tell that.
Yeah. He goes there to try and save the young girl from a serial killer that he's kind of become enmeshed with this guy. It's an interesting thing. Anyway, and To Sleep with Stones, he ends up in Scotland, helping another guy from the coven. They're trying to solve a murder mystery there because his friend has been put in jail, and they have to figure out who the real killer is. And then while he's in Scotland, his lover, Michael Stryker, who you might enjoy this guy too. He is a guy that thinks he's the reincarnation of Lord Byron. And he's the manager of the goth club, and he also plays vampire. So he's one of those guys that goes around wearing, contacts and the fangs and this black cape, and getting into a lot of trouble and spiking people's drinks. And anyways, Michael gets upset because Estrada's gone off and left him, and starts hanging around with this young French model who gets him into trouble with a real vampire. So I actually do a whole piece on vampires. And in the third book, the vampire gets mad and steals Estrada's baby. So they all end up on a yacht going up the west coast of BC to get this baby back. And there's a lot of tension because a whole bunch of his lovers are on the boat. It sounds crazy, I know, but this is kind of just what happens.
I think it sounds fun.
It is fun. In the last one, they time travel to 200 BC Ireland to save an archaeologist friend of theirs, and it's based on a real life bog body. So Wow. I did a whole lot of research for that one. Yeah. So that's kind of that.
All sounds like a great thing to read. I started to say watch because I was thinking, wow, that would make a great series on Netflix.
Please do. Somebody please do that, because that's how I see them. And so I think I'm able, my job basically as a writer is to take all these visions I have, and then to actually write them down on paper and get the right words. And so, it does come out very cinematic. And
some of the things you were saying about Ireland and everything, we have some people that are friends of ours that are really into Outlander.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, this sounds like it could be just as good as Outlander. So
yes, let's say that. Someone wrote in a review that the second one was True Blood meets Outlander. So it was kind of.
By the way, that's a review that you should use to publicize your
Absolutely.
That's a good review. It has color in it.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about your coven writing in these books. What type of research did you need to do for that?
I did a little bit of research, but I mean, Wicca's a pretty strong stuff here, and I've been involved in a lot of different spiritual practices. So some of that was research. Some of it was me just saying to them, how do you guys operate? And so what their thing is that they do a lot of live rituals in a woods close to where I used to live, and where they actually do meet in a circle, and they do a lot of theatrics. And a lot of that is because Estrada is a stage magician and he is a performer. So he likes to dress up, and they call down the gods, and they do rituals. But they're also revering nature, and they want to save the planet. So a lot of their stuff is nature based, and they have that pagan thing happening. So it's it's good like that. But
have you gone to some of their circles so you could know it?
No, but I've done a lot of solitary things. And then when you kind of, you already have that background of how spell casting works and how to do ritual. I mean, ritual is a really great thing. And I grew up in the Anglican church where there was a lot of ritual. So I think I'm familiar with that. And yeah, I actually, a friend of mine whose husband is a bishop in the Anglican church, he came to one of my readings, and I asked him, I'm like, what do you think? Because I was a little bit nervous about that. He's like, no, he's like, I really see the parallels between what's happening, because I think Wicca, it kind of took the church and turned it on its head. But they used a lot of the same kind of thing. Like they have ritual wine and they have food and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they call on the gods and the gods come down. So, and the gods actually make an appearance in these books too. So I bring in the Celtic gods, and we get to meet them, which is fun. Yeah.
Well, Wendy, one of the things, so love your books, love the whole series and all of that. So let's talk a little bit more about you again now. And you love to review books. You have
Yes.
that on your website, that you're a book reviewer. So tell us how that works and how did you start doing that?
Yeah, well, I guess I've been doing that maybe for about maybe 4 years now. And I had written a review about Kelly Armstrong's new Rockton series, she's a Canadian author, and I really loved her book. And my sister, who's a reviewer, said, why don't you send it to the Ottawa Review of Books? And because she had sent some stuff there too. And I'm like, okay. So I sent it, and he said, yeah, this is great. Can you send me some more? So I ended up, I basically have been reviewing for them for about 4 years.
Okay, like what did you say the name of that company is again?
The the Ottawa Review of Books.com. And it's Canadian authors and Canadian literature. And I really love that because I get to really find really great Canadian authors. I've had people say to me, oh, there are no great Canadian authors. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? What? Because of course there are, and yeah. So that's how kind of I got into that.
And now you actually review books on your website. You talk about people sending you their books for review as well. Is that right? Or is that still?
Usually the ones on my website are often ones that they're either ones for the Ottawa Review of Books, or they are books that I just read because I like them. And so then I review them. Yeah. But I don't have like a paid thing going on where I.
No, not a paid thing, but I wasn't thinking about a paid thing, but you don't necessarily want everybody that's watching this podcast to send you their book for review either. So
no. And if I'm not really like knocked out with a book, I never do bad reviews. So if I don't really connect with a book or the characters or something, then, I won't do it either.
Wendy, that's very interesting. And I'm not saying I disagree with you, because I absolutely don't. But why don't you do bad reviews?
Because as a writer, I know what that is like, and I know how much people put into writing. It's such a thankless job, really. I mean, you put so many hours into doing this, and then for somebody to kind of pick up your book and say, oh, this, I'm going to give this like 2 stars because it doesn't, like, I just would not do that to anybody. I think that's bad karma.
Yeah, I do too. If I can't give you a good review, I'm just silent.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. And also, I'd hope that people would do that for me. If I'd rather no review than an review or a bad review. So,
but on the other hand, so my sister is an avid reader. I mean, reads just constantly. And she told me, I wish somebody would do bad reviews or negative reviews, because it would save me from reading a book if it just wasn't that great. So do you have any thoughts on that? Or, because I do see that. I see that as a reader. I wish somebody would say, oh, that book's not that great.
Yeah, I agree with Wendy, though. The karma is just too strong. And she's right, too, about No, understanding the work that writers put in it, it's just too hard. I still remember, Wendy, do you remember any of your, have you ever had a bad review?
No, not really.
I actually had, on my first book, I had a bad review. I have a lot of 5 stars, 4.5 stars. I had 1 star. And the
Okay.
lady wrote she couldn't finish the book because there were so many curse words. I was like,
Oh,
I had a killer that cursed. What am I supposed to do?
you know what? I totally get that. Yes, because my books have a lot of profanity in them because look who I'm writing about. And
Yeah.
and particularly my Irish archaeologist, she's a really feisty lady. She's and yeah, she she swears a lot. I did have someone once say to me they were offended because of one of the words I used, which I won't mention here, but it's a word that we don't use so much here, but in Europe they use it quite often. And it was a Scottish person that was using the
I
word.
actually know the word.
And
then,
my Irish person that was using the word, and she said she was super offended by it, that she loved my work, but she was super offended by me using that word. So I did actually remove that word because I thought, okay, you know what, that's all right, because a lot of my audience is here, and so I will listen.
So they
to
would
that.
misunderstand what you were communicating.
Exactly.
Like that. It's like avoiding confusion almost when you rework something, right?
Yeah.
I didn't change his language because that was a part of the character's voice. I had to keep it.
No, and I agree with that too. And I have kept, I've kept a lot of it's actually really funny because when my Irish archaeologist ends up in 200 BC Ireland, she's with Druids. Okay. This is like prehistoric Ireland. And she's running around there using her Irish version of the F word because that's just how she rolls. And the fella that she meets there, who is the Irish king, ends up using that word as well because he thinks it's like some kind of powerful magic. And I'm like, yeah, it is actually, because with that word sometimes it's just the right word to use.
My wife thinks it's a powerful word of anti-husband.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that way to do that. But yeah, I couldn't take that away from her because that is part of her character. And if you know people in Ireland, which I do, that's how they talk. So
you're torturing me by saying how familiar you are with Ireland. That's one of the places I haven't visited yet, and I hate it. You must have been there many times.
I have been there 3 times, and
that's a lot.
Yeah, where I went in 2005. Quick story, I had my daughter with me. And we drove around for a month actually. And I just fell in love with Ireland. It was fantastic. And then we were back at the Dublin airport, ready to get on a plane. And the next morning, and she says, Mom, I think I'm going to stay here. So I said, what? And she says, yeah, I'm going to take a train back to Galway because I really like Galway and I'm going to stay here for a while. And so I ended up having to get on the plane and go home without her. And we're super tight. And that was like almost the hardest year of my life because she ended up staying for over a year and working on Shop Street. So the next year I went back again because I needed to see her. And we did some more touring around. And then in 2017, I went back and did all the research for the prehistoric Irish book.
Wendy, this has been amazing just to get to know you. And while you guys were talking, I was kind of perusing the last couple of pages on your website. And I just wanted to say that if anybody wants to know you a little more, the website is great. And I love the media features place because it has a link to multiple interviews that you've done. So I can't wait till there's a link to our interview of you on your website. That's too amazing. I love that. So, but there's also I encourage everybody to go to the website read the author bio. There's so many cool things about you that we don't even have time to talk about. But I love, there were so many things I did identify with, and I loved reading about them, and all the things you do with tarot cards and your spiritualism and your mysticism and all of that. It's just like an amazing person to read about. So I really encourage all of our audience to go find out more about you, but go buy the book now. The new book is Lure. And tell me the rest of the name. I'm not on the website where it is right now, but I remember the name of the little town was Lure. And the people are
Jesse and Hawk.
Jesse and Hawk. And Hawk is the doctor, injured, not physically, but maybe mentally, emotionally. And Jesse is a young vegan photographer, and so find out about their adventure. And this is possibly the first of a series. So what are your thoughts on the rest of the series? Where would you go with more books on the two of them?
I probably will stick with the same kind of romantic suspense, but I'll focus on another couple. And I mean, there's
another couple. Okay.
Yeah. So I even had thought about, Lure, Jesse and Hawk, and then the next one might be Lure, Sam and Amy, like that kind of a series. Perhaps I'll see how that goes. But it was just so much fun creating that town. And I've introduced several characters already that I can play off of.
I love it when people create these towns. Mm-hmm. We have a friend that writes horror, and her town is Willoughby, and I mean, I'm just like can imagine all the things that go on there in Willoughby. So yeah. Now we'll think about Lure and what all would go on in the little town on the Lure River. So that sounds awesome. So it's been great to talk to you. Amy, I don't know how much time I'm supposed to let you guys have before I'm done. So I can go on talking to Wendy, or I can hand it back over to you guys.
No, Sandy, you are good. But I will say, Wendy, this has been a fantastic conversation. I am just jealous that you have been to Ireland. I just feel like that's like the most beautiful place, and I'm dying to go at some point. So I'm just jealous that you haven't gone just once, but 3 times. Mm-hmm. But I think your book sounds amazing, and just all of the other writing endeavors that you've done are fascinating for me. I feel like we could do a whole hour-long segment, because I have some questions for you, like how long did it take you to write and all of these things. So we'll definitely have to have you back. And if you decide to make Laura a series, Lure, then I recommend if you do like Sam and Amy, you could spell it my way if you want to, instead of A-M-Y. Just, I'm just going to throw it out there because I love my name and the way that it is spelled. Russell, you don't have to agree with me. But closing comments, questions, or anything like that. Russell, I'm going to kick it to you first.
I would like Wendy to tell our listeners how they can find her book if they would like to buy it. And that's my last question.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I'm actually, I did an exclusive with Amazon this time around with KDP. So it is on Kindle Unlimited if you're into ebooks and you're there. And it's also on Amazon. And you kind of have to put Lure Hawkin, Hawkin, because otherwise you're going to get a lot of fishing lures. This is what, and that's part of what the name is, because this part of the world is fisherman hunter paradise. It's mid Minnesota, and that's there. Yeah. So, and then go to my website, bluehavenpress.com. That's where you'll find a lot of more information, including a whole piece around how I wrote it and my connections to it.
Well, make sure you let us know when you make audiobooks, because
I will. Thank you.
Be interested in, because I just purchased the ebook, and I do love that it's part of Kindle Unlimited, and I do have that. I could do that, but I want to own the book, because I can't wait to get the audio version of that and listen to what I've already read. So I think that's awesome. It's been really good, Wendy, to meet you and to talk to you and find out these interesting things about you and the book and how you write. I just think I love it. I love that you're in Canada, the most beautiful place. I love it up there. So it's very nice to meet you, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Yes, and Sandy, please do, when you read it, message me on Facebook or whatever, however you can find me, and let me know what you think, because
I
I'd
will.
love to hear your review.
Okay, I will
That'd be great.
definitely do that. Can I send you a
Good
friend
job,
request
Wendy.
on
I like
Facebook?
that. You got a
Yes.
review out of that. Good work.
That was good, Wendy. That was good. I like that.
No, it has been a lot of fun, Wendy, and we always hate when our time comes to an end. We always get sad. This is the highlight of our Monday and the highlight of our week, and getting to meet new authors like you and get to hear your journey of becoming an author and the inspiration and just everything behind your writing endeavors is what we live for, and we love it. So thank you for taking time out of your morning to come and talk to us about your books and the path that you are on. It has meant a lot, and we absolutely love it. But you guys, don't forget, tonight is week 3 for Through the Eyes of Authors, the 6-step series with Max Regan. You're not going to want to miss it. If you're interested in the link, send me an email, direct message me. I'm everywhere, so just type in my name. I'm sure you will pop up in Google somewhere, okay?
Especially with that weird name.
Oh, goodness. Message me. I will get you the link. I think this is something all writers need at any part of your writing journey. But until next Monday, you guys have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you all next Monday.